Warning, you may see and hear shocking things in this video that make you realize you need to make a lot more money before moving to LA for a 1-bedroom apartment. Or just don't do it. I wish I would have known these things. Now, to be clear, this video is for your average everyday person. Your minimum wage worker may be making a little bit more, but the person who, when they're looking for a 1-bedroom apartment, specifically in LA, they're looking for what's that starting point. Where can I look for an apartment kind of in that basic range just to get my foot in the door to start getting situated? Now, it's not for the people with wonderful careers who are making great amounts of money, that disposable income. No, it's not for you. Now, you may benefit from watching this because you may know people who are in that other category where we don't make as much yet. So watching this, you may be able to now relate to them more, or even give people a heads up, a warning, hey, this is what you may be moving into. Because I know whenever I've met people that are in those upper categories and I tell them about it, they're always shocked. So I figured what better way to spread the news and info to more people than through YouTube, which also is known as YouTube University. So with that being said, class is in session. So let's just start at the beginning, right at the front door. And not gonna show you the address, don't wanna give that away now. So you may notice a couple things. First, we have a nice wood ceiling. Next, we have a nice wood floor. And also there's a futon in the middle of the living room, but we'll get to that later. So you may be thinking, oh wow, how nice. You have this wood ceiling, wood floors and everything. But here's the thing with it. Remember I talked about the base level of apartments you can get in and for the price? Well, with that, you don't really want a wood ceiling because first off, it's not treated and it lets things through because there's no insulation, such as bugs. Main bugs I've noticed are spiders, roaches, and you got it, termites. Now, you may be thinking, well, there's, bugs in everywhere you live. Well, here's the thing though. Most places, once you can get rid of them, they probably won't come back because you're able to, debug the place. Here's the whole apartment building. Now, it is a 6-unit building, so it's one of those things, if, you get rid of all the ones in your place, that's fine, but they'll still come from the ceiling. Plenty of times, I've seen spiders just web down from there, and I'm like, here we go again. Doesn't even matter because they'll get through all the cracks. And same thing with roaches. They might come up from the floor, ceiling, whatever. Now, it's got less consistent because, as you can see, I keep a clean place. Or at least I think so. I clean once a week, but that's nor here nor there. Now, the third one, how I mentioned termites. You may be thinking, well, I don't know much about termites. I do, you don't? I don't know. I never really knew anything about termites. I knew they ate wood, but I'd never lived somewhere where it was an issue. Now, I have, and it sucks. Because, they eat wood, which also gives you a terrible foundation. Stuff cracks and breaks all the time. For example, the floors and whatnot. But also, they come out and it's very irritating because if you have people over, they may think you have a dirty place. And it's not that your place is dirty, it's that it's just infested with termites. Now, a lot of times the termites will have come right in this area. And though I don't know why, but they always go towards the window. Usually later in the afternoon, they'll all be dead. Luckily, they haven't come out yet, so good for us. But that's the thing. Eventually, I learned where they were coming from. Someone actually even told me, oh, those are termites, don't worry about it, which was weird how nonchalantly they said it, but I also then learned they'd been living in LA for a while. So one of those great things you get to learn and just become accustomed to living here, which I don't see why anyone should. But he then later showed me that they are coming from, at least these one set of termites, was coming from right in here. As you can see, I don't know if you can see, but I got some tape over it. They also are coming from right up here. So I did tape over it, and luckily that did stop them, at least from flying out. Now they still do like to, go throughout the whole place, but they're at least not flying out anymore. That seems to have stopped them for now, but we'll move on to some other places they are. So here's another place that I always notice. This is from termites. So if you're ever looking at a place, especially in LA, you don't want to see this. Some more places from termites. Here, that was patched. That's been patched. Oh, there's some more patches. Oh, wait, Here's one that hasn't even been patched. That's just an open hole. Here's another. You got it. It's all from termites. Now, another place I've seen termites, and they like to come, is the bathroom for some reason. They will get all in this little netting right here. I've been able to get most of them out, but they'll get right in here. And also, they get on the floor a lot. I attached a picture so you see what I'm talking about. Luckily, that stopped a little bit because they repainted in here. Once again, it's kind of that Band-Aid fix. Like, oh, hey, we're not really going to fix the problem, but we're just going to put something over it and kind of delay the issue. Don't know why they didn't want to do that, but once again, LA happily supporting termites. Good for us. My main idea is that probably the tenants, or no, not the tenants, we're the ones who have to deal with it. The landlords want to squeeze as much money as they can out of people, so they don't really want to fix the main issues, which probably the building should just be torn down. But why do that when you can save money and just do a paint job that doesn't fix the actual foundation of the place, but hey, it lasts for a little bit. So since we're in the bathroom, that's one of the next issues we'll be talking about is mold. Yeah, who would have thought, especially in LA where, at least for me, I thought, oh, it's always nice year round. Well, guess what? It gets really, I can say that word on YouTube, but it gets really hot in the summer. And it does get pretty cold in the winter, especially if you live in a building that's older. Now, all that aside, the mold. Now, how that affects is because this window back here that I showed you, that is the only air circulation in the bathroom. So in the wintertime, you have to leave it open while you take a shower. So it may be cold, which usually is pretty cold, and you have to leave it open just because if you don't, mold's gonna grow. And that's why I learned one of the first times I was here. Luckily got rid of it for the most part as I could, but I've told the managers plenty of times, and they don't really do much about it. They only really do something when it gets really bad. And here's what happened. So, just to show you some places mold is, all up in there. Oh yeah. Right over here.
Ooh, look at that. Gotta love it.
Now, remember I said I'll mention how they finally fixed it? Well, when I first moved in, I noticed that over here by the tub, it wasn't, actually, it's starting to happen again. Surprise, surprise. But basically, right by the tub, right over here, it's not properly sealed. And water was leaking, so I made sure to tell them, hey, this probably should be fixed because water's going down, and already getting a sense of the building and seeing this roof we talked about on the floor, figured water's probably gonna go down and mess up the neighbor's roof, and who knows what could happen, right? Never did anything. Until about, I'd say 9 months to a year later, I get a knock at the door. And this was through after plenty of emails and trying to let them know, hey, mold, there's leaking, all this stuff. They don't care. Not until it gets serious. Because like I said, then later, you knock at the door. Maintenance is here to fix the leak. I'm like, oh, that's great. Do you mind me, like, what made you come now? Oh, well, your neighbor's roof collapsed. What? Yeah, I didn't say that to them, of course, but that's what I'm thinking. So I said, hey, give me 1 second, my man. Let me go see something. So I go downstairs to the neighbors right below me. Like I said, it's a 6-unit building, so I'm on the top floor in the middle. They were right below me. I asked them, like, hey, what happened? Are you guys okay? She goes to me and says, oh, yeah, it was about a 4 to 5 foot hole that opened up in her ceiling, fell through to the ground. Now she's like 5'0". So if that would have hit her, I mean, heck, if it would hit anybody, that could very much injure them, if not more. Once again, it's one of those things, preventive measures. Why didn't they just fix it before? Who knows? But that's one of the things you get to look forward to if you move to LA and not properly plan. Yeah. But nonetheless, eventually it fixed, and here's the funny thing. Well, not funny, more ironic, you could say. It was the second time it happened. First, I hadn't been living here yet. Then it happened, and guess what? It's happened again. Yes, it was about, I'd say, less than a year ago once again, how I mentioned that leak that just isn't ever fixed, happened. And only not just this time. And I don't know if it was just a leak, but I think there was some faulty piping or something, because somehow it also affected the neighbor to the bottom to the left. So you got the middle neighbor and the neighbor to the side. They took out so much from the roofs and inside of the walls. They pretty much did a whole regut. I attached a picture for you to see, but you can only see so much of it. That is in the trash. It filled up a whole dumpster. It was insane. And once again, never did a check for mold, never really did anything. Probably didn't even help them out with rent for a month. They're just like, oh, let us fix it. Sorry. Now, last on the whole leaking mold issues, right? This is in the kitchen. My water heater somehow just was broken. I don't know what happened, but I made sure to report to them and let them know, hey, there's a lot of water on the ground. It should be taken care of. Of course, they end up coming a week or two later, who knows. And during that time, there was this water just sitting on the ground. Every time I try and clean up, it keep coming back out. Looked a little like this is the stain it left. So what did they do? They replaced the water heater, thank God. Did they do anything about the floor? As you can see, no. Nor do we know what went on under that, because once again, they don't care. Now, even though it is a nice, cooler summer day out here in LA, Southern California, it is very hot inside. We'll get to that in a bit. So I'm gonna have to take a cool off outside and I'll show you something else. Now, during that cool off outside, that would be a good opportunity and chance to show all of you what other issues this one building that I've at least noticed is going through. Now, this part right here is where there used to be a family of wasps, hornets, bees. I'm not sure what they were, but I sure do know they sting. And this used to be just infested with them. I don't know how long it took, but they finally decided to start cleaning it up, or at least they somewhat fixed it. I don't know if they're gonna do any more. That's been there for about a week or two so far. But that's one of the things. Next, you'll be seeing that here are some other places that the termites have affected. This is along the outside window, and then you'll also see this is along the door frame. Some other nice areas. And now one of the main and probably the biggest thing in my opinion to look out for with moving out if you don't have the proper budget and definitely want to get into a little bit nicer of a place. Something to look out for is, which I can't really show you all of it, so I'll be talking to you, but to give you a little pre-intro to it, is check out this window. So you see this, you may be thinking, oh, it's just any ordinary regular window. Well, you're wrong. Look at this. See there? That's just me barely pushing it with my thumb. Comes right in and out of there. Look at that. That's not me even trying. So now you may be thinking, why isn't that sealed? Why doesn't it have a stopper? Something. Well, this seems like some kind of, I don't know if it's really cheap glass, who knows what it is, but it sure doesn't do much with keeping any of the heat or coldness outside the building, nor does it keep it in. And that brings me to my final and probably biggest thing you need to look out for when moving out to Southern California, specifically Los Angeles, of things you want to make sure to have in your one-bedroom apartment. Because for the price range we're in, my friends, you do not get it, which is heat, air conditioning, and after seeing that window, you got it, insulation. Now, you may be thinking, and maybe have lived some places where having air conditioning you don't always have. You may have, a nice window unit or something that comes with the building. No, my friends, not here. You don't get any of that. Now, I did hear back in the day, it was much cooler during the summers and all this, but you know what, not anymore. And kind of after showing you the places of the building that, might need to be redone a little bit, that just goes to show you how old buildings are out here and that they probably should be redone. It's a very old city with a lot of buildings. Now, there are some new ones, but once again, the price range we're talking about, that's probably what you're gonna get, unless you get lucky, because, there's always an exception to every rule. But back to the main points. Heat, air conditioning, and insulation. Heat, I also, here is a thing you are supposed to have out here, but I know the little wall heater thing that is supposed to be working, that hasn't worked ever since I moved in, and I've asked them plenty of times. Nothing's ever happened. And nor do my neighbors have any of theirs working either. So now on top of it, you may be thinking, all right, well, you know, the heat and air conditioning, well, why don't you just get a little window unit? Or why don't you have, a floor heater? Well, here's the thing. I do have a floor heater, which I got, which is very nice, as long as you keep that on 24/7. Essentially, as long as you want to stay warm, you have to have it on. Because as soon as that goes off in the winter, as I showed you with the window, which was just a small part of that installation we talked about, it goes right through the roof, that nice wood ceiling we talked about, the floor, and the windows. Yeah, none of that stays in. As soon as it goes off, it gets cold again. So that doesn't help too much. Now the window unit, you could be saying, use that the whole time. Well, as you can see here from these pictures, when the window unit's running the whole time, it starts to leak, which probably doesn't help the building either. But once again, the main fact is, that's just going right out the windows, the ceiling, and the floor. It doesn't stay in here because no insulation. Remember in the beginning how I mentioned the futon was in the living room? Well, we finally get back to that point. The reason I have it out here is because it gets so hot in the bedroom, and well, in the summer it gets so hot, and in the winter it gets so cold that it's hard to sleep sometimes, to be honest. I remember my first winter, I usually end up covering my face because my face was getting that cold, because it would actually get colder inside than it is outside. I cannot tell you how many times I woke up mad because I was that cold. And then I'd go outside and somehow I'd warm up in the winter because it was warmer outside than in my own place. Same thing in the summer. I don't usually wake up mad, usually wake up tired and exhausted. So at least that's positive. But I have had to go to my car to cool off. Usually it's 1 to 2 weeks every summer that it gets that hot and unbearable in here where you just need to cool off some way. So whether it's going to your car and using your own air conditioning, or going to a store and walking around, whatever it may be, as long as you get some of that cool AC. Which is why my bed, or my futon I have now, is in the living room, because I've noticed that out here it stays a lot more cooler, or basically the temperature doesn't change as much. The bedroom, I think because it's smaller and also the window's right by the bed, probably temperature changes a little bit more drastically. Where in the living room, don't get me wrong, it still gets very hot and still gets very cold, because in the winter I sleep with a hoodie, sweatpants, and plenty of layers. Yes, you do have to layer because, and when I say layer I mean your sheets, because the temperature changes throughout the whole night. So it gets colder or it gets hotter. You never know what your sleep's gonna be, which is always a fun game to play. How am I gonna sleep tonight? Yeah, I can remember last time I slept good, which was before I moved to LA. Which is why I sleep in the living room primarily. So it pretty much just turns the bedroom into a storage area. Don't really sleep in there much anymore because, like I said, the temperature just changes too drastically and it's hard to get a good night's sleep. Hard to get one out here too, but at least it's a little bit cooler, or it's not as hot, whatever it may be. Now, at the end of the day, I mainly just want to bring awareness to what you may be moving to coming to LA, because I know I didn't know any of this, and that way if I could help out a couple people or whoever it may be coming out here to know that, hey, you may want to make a little bit more money. Don't go with the bare minimum because it can be very rough, not just in living, but in the simple sense of when you get off work, you want to come home to a place that feels comfortable, that you can relax. And when you're constantly worrying about whether it's mold, bugs, or is my place cool, hot, who knows, you want to be able to relax. You want to be able to reset for the next day, and whatever things you may be going through on your own life, you want to make sure when you come home, that's a place to relax and kind of reset. So if I helped out anyone, if you learned something new, whatever it may be, I'd really appreciate it if you comment down below. Let me know if you enjoyed it, if you didn't, whatever it may be, positive or negative. And if you do know anyone moving out to LA, or even have thought about it, share this video with them so that way they are more aware of what they may be getting into. Once again, if you're on that lower budget, trying to do the bare minimum apartment, because I know any of my friends I've made out here or people I've met or worked with, whenever I've been able to share and we talk about what's going on in our lives, and I tell them about the simple those three big ones, the air conditioning, heat, and insulation, they always laugh, which it is kind of funny, but it's shocking at the same time, because who would have thought those basic things would really be getting if you're in a luxury building. With that being said, remember, you've been warned. Now, I need to go to my car and cool off for a little bit, because as you can see, it's getting a little toasty in here.